What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for April 25th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition of the podcast. It's a lot more feel-gooder today, so let's get right into it. Howie Roseman, you chess-playing son of a bitch. The Eagles traded up one spot to number 31 to take Jihaad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a draft expert or an SEC football expert. However, I did watch enough to know that this dude is good. In the limited amount of research I was able to do this morning, this dude was like top 10, top 15 talent, arguably the best linebacker in the draft. A lot of the so-called experts are calling this a steal. And I was able to listen to Howie and Nick Sirianni's press conference from last night. This is the dude they wanted. They had him graded as a top 10. Last week, Howie said that they don't have 32 first-round grades in this draft. So they have attempted twice to trade up to take this guy. There are concerns because he had labrum surgery. He tore his labrum in Alabama's bowl game against Michigan, and then just had surgery in March. It's like a 4 to 8 month recovery, but it's a shoulder. So it's not like he tore an ACL or something like this. This dude's got speed. He's explosive, brings a lot of energy. Nick Sirianni said himself, like he you know, Nick's like, I love this dude's energy. This is definitely not how he even said this. This is not a need pick. They don't necessarily need a linebacker. But this dude is versatile enough that he could play on the edge. And you kind of look, and this is why Howie Roseman is out here playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. The landscape of the NFL is starting to shift, and Howie has been ahead of the curve on a couple of these shifts. Bringing in Saquon Barkley, going against what the Eagles typically do. Now all of a sudden you see teams starting to kind of bring back the importance of the running back. And then on defense, it's all about speed and versatility. Part of the reason why the Eagles were so good on defense is because of how fast they were. Like, there weren't guys like Zach Bond, for instance. Guys were not able, even to Kobe Dean before the injury, guys were not able to get past them. And as long as they can tackle and keep up with those guys, we're going to be fine. So I really, really like this pick at first glance. Like I said, I have not really had a chance to dive in. Woke up at 4, was listening to the radio, trying to do stuff in between sets at the gym. But the big thing is the shoulder injury. But since it's a labrum, like I said, I mean, the guys play with that all the time. It basically will limit his range of mobility. The fact that he had the surgery should be ready sometime during training camp. And again, this was not necessarily a move for we needed him to start. So I love this pick. I absolutely love this pick. When you were the defending Super Bowl champions and you don't have a ton of huge holes, they have players for the positions they need. They just need some upgrade and some depth, specifically with edge rusher. This guy Jihaad could fill the need for that once he's back, but you can't go wrong with speed right now. And Howie is ahead of that curve. And I like I said, I love it. I think it is a steal. The fact that they didn't go for a need. They took the best player they had ranked on their board. They love this guy. They wanted him. They were trying to move up, and they got him. I think he's a perfect fit for this team, especially with Vic Fangio. I think you give him the opportunity to work with him. And I've been saying it all offseason. I think, yes, the players, it still remains to be seen how the rest of the roster is going to fill out. But having Vic Fangio in year 2 is going to be huge for this team because he was not only able to scratch the surface of his playbook last year, and these guys are all bought into him. This dude's a local kid. Grew up an Eagles fan, just Sicklerville, I think he's from Timber Woods or Timber Creek High School. Wanted to be here. If you saw his video, his reaction, excited to be here. The Eagles got their guy. I'm all for it. I'm glad he fell. And like I said, I don't know a ton because I haven't really been able to dive into it. but I know a lot of the reactions were like, Jesus, you can't let this guy fall to the Eagles. And here he is. So I like it. Jihaad, welcome home. Welcome to Philly. Let's get to work. Let's start rehabbing that shoulder. And the other thing is, dude's only 21. So he's going to be able to fill out and put on some muscle mass. And some of his limitations with coverage and things like that, going to be able to learn that. Dude just turned 21. So this is a great pick for the Eagles. I'll dive more into it tomorrow. But Eagles have a second and a third round pick today. But overall, I will take Jihaad Campbell. But that is today's question of the day. How are you feeling about Jihaad Campbell? Yay or nay? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest? Want to talk what do you think the Eagles' next move is? Obviously, tight end is still a question mark. Could use some more edge rushers. Wouldn't mind another corner or even a safety or both. Probably will take an offensive lineman because that's what the Eagles do. But what do they need to do? But how are you feeling about Jihaad Campbell? I like it. Let me know what your thoughts are for today's question of the day. Quick recap of yesterday's. I asked, if you're Howie Roseman, what do you do? 55% said trade, and that's what they did. They only traded up one spot, but surely this dude was going to be taken. And the Giants got their quarterback, Jackson Dart. Abdul Carter is going to be a beast for them, but they still have so many other needs. But Jackson Dart, and if you want some good viewing today, look up Jihaad Campbell's hit on Jackson Dart where he knocked his helmet off. So love it. Absolutely love it. But Jihaad Campbell, welcome to Philly. Let me know what you think. Is it a good move for the Eagles? I think so. I love this. And the fact that Howie has put them in a position where they don't have glaring needs where you have to reach for guys. You let the guys that you grade higher fall to you. Boom. And there he was.
It's time for Fridays with AI, where we ask AI to rewrite Philly sports history. Every Friday only on This Day in Philly Sports History.
That's right. It's time for Fridays with AI. And today we have a very, very special NFL Draft edition of Fridays with AI. Everybody's happy with what Howie did. I just said he's out here playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. But Howie's not perfect. He does not hit on every single draft pick. And for today's Fridays with AI, we're going to go back to the 2020 draft. And we talked yesterday, obviously, big hit in the second round with Jalen Hurts. But a lot of people seem to forget, because of winning a Super Bowl and because of the play of Jalen Hurts, the first round pick that year was Jalen Reagor. And everybody wanted Justin Jefferson. The Minnesota Vikings war room were laughing at the Eagles, not believing that they passed on Justin Jefferson. Obviously, it worked out for the Eagles. They went on to win the Super Bowl. It was kind of put the wheels in motion for them to trade Carson Wentz and all of those other things. But what would have happened if the Eagles did take Justin Jefferson like we all wanted them to? So I asked AI to create an alternate reality, and man, I went down a ton of rabbit holes with this. There were billboards being built saying "Fire Howie." There were billboards and people. Angelo Cataldi came out of retirement in this one. I didn't go into the details, but I just kept going and going and going, and there was a ton on this. So buckle up for this one. All of our previous Fridays with AI have been very positive for the teams for Philadelphia teams and who we've asked. Buckle up, because as much as we wanted Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor may have been the right pick. So in this alternate reality, first round of the draft, the Eagles take Justin Jefferson at 21, and then the Vikings take either Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins. Now, the key to this draft is they still take Jalen Hurts in the second round with that pick, just as a backup, because if you remember and what was going on, they weren't necessarily sold on Carson. He was starting to get in his head. We heard it come out that he wanted to change the playbook because of Nick Foles winning the Super Bowl with Doug Peterson's other playbook. So they still take Jalen Hurts. All right, so for the 2020 season, Jefferson has an immediate impact. He's a star, wins Rookie of the Year, catches 7 touchdowns for 1,200 yards, instant chemistry with Carson Wentz. Wentz still is Wentz, makes big plays and is able to do some things, but still makes a lot of boneheaded decisions and is sort of borderline a head case there, but looks decent, finishes and plays the entire season with Justin Jefferson. The Eagles do go 6-10 that year. They don't make the playoffs. However, we know what happened that season. They went 3-13 or whatever it was, and Doug Peterson got fired. In this reality, because of the chemistry between Wentz and Jefferson, Doug Peterson stays. And because of the decent season, not great, but decent, there's not really a need for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts does come in and do some of the gadget plays that he did that year, but in the offseason, looking to try to gain some draft capital to kind of fix the defense, Jalen Hurts is traded to the Indianapolis Colts that offseason. So instead of Carson being traded, they trade Jalen Hurts to the Indianapolis Colts. So that brings us to the 2021 season. Eagles go 9-8, not far from the reality they did with Jalen Hurts. They lose in the wild card round, but Justin Jefferson is a bona fide star. Goes for over 1,400 yards, catches 12 touchdowns, and the offense is solid. The Eagles, because of the way everything played out, the Eagles have one of the best offenses in the league. Wentz is still Wentz. He's good. He has great moments, but still has his bad moments. But the defense is really where this team starts falling apart. They're getting older because of all of the focus on offense. There's not as much of work put in on getting the defense better. So going into that 2022 draft, I guess it would be, the Eagles don't have all of the extra picks from, I guess it would have been the 2021 draft, but they don't have all those extra picks from trading Carson Wentz. So obviously, according to this reality, they trade out of their pick. They don't draft Devontae Smith because they trade for extra picks to try to build up the defense. So no Devontae, kind of a ho-hum draft for Howie. But that brings us to the 2022 season, and that's really where we see Carson Wentz for who he is. And all of the pundits and everything, like I said, I went down a rabbit hole, so there was a ton of ESPN hot takes, tweets from Eagles fans, WIP hosts saying, but Carson Wentz is known as the poor man's Kirk Cousins. Good enough to get you to the playoffs, but is he good enough to win you a Super Bowl? Especially with a guy like Justin Jefferson, who instantly by year 3 becomes one of the best receivers in the league. Eagles do make the playoffs that year. Maybe they win a game, maybe not, but they don't get any further. And because of 3 straight years now of not, or I guess it would be 4 straight years of not getting back to the Super Bowl, everybody starts getting a little antsy. Fans are really questioning Howie and what his vision is for this team. And to make matters worse and further complicate it, over in Indianapolis, Jalen Hurts is putting up MVP-type numbers. It's him, it's Lamar Jackson, it's Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes in the AFC. They're the 4 top teams in the AFC. Every year he's an MVP candidate, basically doing whatever needs to be done, kind of like what he does here. But the fact that he's able to hang and beat, and I know that's one of the things people say about Jalen now, oh, you can't beat the AFC. But he's hanging tough with those guys. That just eggs the fans on more. And that's when, before this draft, the 2023 draft, this is when Angelo Cataldi comes out and says Howie Roseman needs to be fired. But let's get to that 2023 season. Wentz takes a huge step back. He's getting booed consistently at the link. Doug Peterson is frustrated because he doesn't listen. And I think all of those things that we've heard behind the scenes come out. And Doug Peterson is not shy about saying, this dude, I'm not happy with him. He can't do it. The Eagles are officially in quarterback purgatory. It's quarterback purgatory. The only thing that's worse than that is being in NBA lottery purgatory when you're a 7, 8, 9, 10 seed. not quite winning the lottery, not quite making a move into the playoffs. So Doug Peterson, because of the frustration, resigns after the 2023 season. The Eagles don't make the playoffs, and in that draft, they take either Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. So last season, 2024 season, is a rebuild year for the Eagles. Justin Jefferson still puts up numbers. They bring in a veteran to kind of tide it over, but either Nix or Penix ends up starting. And again, has chemistry with Justin Jefferson, but the fans start turning on Howie. And they're pissed that he let Jalen Hurts go after seeing what he's doing in Indianapolis. It's already been to a Super Bowl, perennial MVP candidate, and we decided to choose Carson Wentz. So they're not happy. They're not happy with his draft moves. And due to all of the pushback and blowback from all of this, Howie Roseman gets fired after the 2024 season in this alternate reality. Jeff Lurie says, "I've had enough. It's time to move in a different direction." Brings in Adam Peters, who is now the GM at Washington, comes to Philadelphia instead as Howie's replacement. And in this year's draft, the round that just completed yesterday, the Eagles trade up and take Shedeur Sanders with the number 3 pick overall. Now, Shedeur did not get drafted yesterday, but in this alternate reality, Shedeur Sanders is the Eagles guy. They like his playmaking ability. Could be maybe they're trying to emulate what Jalen Hurts is doing in Indianapolis. But I did, and this is where I went down so many rabbit holes, but I did play out the 2025 season. Shedeur Sanders is a success, teaming with Justin Jefferson in Philly, leads the Eagles to the 2025 NFC East title. They go on a championship run just like the Washington Commanders did before losing it in the Super Bowl, but the hopes are high. So in this alternate reality, a lot to unpack there, but the Eagles take Justin Jefferson instead of Jalen Reagor. Jefferson is a bona fide star. The Eagles decide to keep Carson Wentz, and it blows up in their face, costing Howie Roseman the job, leading to them drafting yesterday Shedeur Sanders, who would lead them to an NFC East title and a championship run. It just got too convoluted at that point. I told AI to stop after the 2025 season. But so I think as much as at the time we wanted Justin Jefferson, it's funny how things play out the way they're supposed to play out. Because if the Eagles did draft Justin Jefferson in real life, I don't think they would have been able to make the moves and get to where they are to win the Super Bowl last year. So, like I said, funny how things played out. But that was Fridays with AI. What do you think about this one? Like I said, I was one of them. I said, no, we needed to take Jefferson. The fact that the Vikings were laughing at us. But it kind of played out okay, I would say, for the Eagles. But what are your thoughts on today's Fridays with AI? First time we didn't have it be all butterflies, unicorns, and roses. This one didn't work out too well. So, gotta say, this is the perfect example of In Howie We Trust. All right, let's do some housekeeping. Had some fun there with Fridays with AI. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram, at PhillyJimbo. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. Don't forget, there's always highlights, photos, newspaper clippings, all kinds of fun stuff on my social media, including my Facebook, as well as my LinkedIn. Facebook is typically where a lot of the good conversations start. Based on that, I am, and this is something, not breaking news or anything, but I am kind of toying with the idea of starting a Discord channel chat where we can kind of keep all of those things sort of in one. So stay tuned for that. All right, it's time for our daily Tankathon check-in for the Flyers and Sixers. This morning, I did run another Tankathon simulation. The Flyers dropped to the 5th pick, which that typically, all of the simulations I've done so far, they've stayed either at 4 or moved down to 5. But the Sixers moved up to the 3rd pick, which I would gladly take. So Flyers dropped to 5. Sixers move up to 3. Starting next week, I'll start seeing the trends and keep you posted on that. But we will do this every day until the NHL and NBA draft lotteries take place. Phils back in action today out in Chicago. Afternoon, 2:20 start out in Chicago. Brings me back to when I was a kid when the Phillies played the Cubs a lot. And there was no night games out in Chicago when I started watching baseball. So it was always an afternoon game in Chicago. You got to love it. Taijuan Walker's on the mound today. Could be his last shot to prove himself that he should remain in the starting rotation, with Ranger Suarez likely coming back within the next week or so. But this is a huge rotation, or not rotation. This is a huge series for the Phillies. The Cubs are red hot, leading the NL Central. 2 of these games, not today's, but tomorrow and Sunday's game, are on national TV. So don't want to go out there and look and get embarrassed. And I heard some people on the radio say that wouldn't be surprised if the Phils go out there and get swept with 2 national televised games. That heat that is getting warmer for Rob Thompson might be boiling hot by the end of this series. So Phils Cubs today, 2:20. Taijuan Walker, yikes, going for the Phillies today out in Chicago. Be sure to check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Great things happening on their Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com for details on what they have to offer, how you can get involved, and be sure to check out their podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Usually new episodes drop Thursdays and Fridays. Very interesting, novel concept they have going over there, so check it out. And then do some shopping. It's going to be another 80-degree day before a rainy day tomorrow. Go to Philly Goat. Get some shirts, get some shoes, buy some rocks glasses, buy some artwork. You name it, they got it. Go to Philly Goat. Check out everything they have to offer, specifically the Jordan Spector collection. But they have Howie Roseman shirts. You want to get some Howie Roseman because luckily the alternate reality the AI created for us did not play out, and Howie is a bona fide star in this city. They have a whole Howie Roseman collection. So you want to show your support for Howie? Go to Philly Goat, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, today we got a very special birthday. Happy birthday to you. All right, I'm not going to hurt your eardrums with my singing, but I would like to wish a very, very happy 47th birthday to the Phillie Phanatic. On this day in 1978, the Phillie Phanatic made his debut at the Vet, replacing Philadelphia Phil and Philadelphia Phyllis, who, if you want to see who they are, go to Storybook Land in South Jersey. They're right there at the entrance. But the Phillie Phanatic, what can I say about the Phanatic that hasn't already been said? He's the GOAT. He's the Hall of Famer. There is no mascot better than the Phillie Phanatic, and truthfully, whatever superlative you want to use to describe the Phillie Phanatic, it doesn't do it justice. The Phillie Phanatic is simply the best. So happy 47th birthday, big guy. Enjoy your day. You got the day off. Phils are out in Chicago, but happy birthday, Phillie Phanatic. We all love you. All right, but we're going to go to 1989 today. And the Flyers and the Penguins have had a ton of epic playoff battles, a lot of which we'll cover within the next month. But on this day, the Flyers and the Penguins combined for 17 goals as the Penguins beat the Flyers 10-7 in the Patrick Division Finals to take a 3-2 lead. Tim Kerr had 2 goals and 2 assists for the Flyers, but this was all about Mario Lemieux. Mario lived up to the Super Mario nickname today, on this day in 1989, having 8 points. He scored 5 goals, 3 assists, 4 goals in the first period. Mario Lemieux scored 4 goals in the first period of a playoff game against Ron Hextall. He tied the record for goals in a playoff game with Newsy Lillard, Rocket Richard, Darryl Sittler, and Flyer Reggie Leach. Also tied the record for points in a playoff game with Patrick Sundstrom with 8. However, as much and as great as Mario Lemieux was during this game, the Flyers would win the next 2 games to win that series. Being down 3-2, they'd win a game in Pittsburgh, win a game in Philly, before losing in the conference finals to the Montreal Canadiens. But on this day in 1989, Penguins beat the Flyers 10-7 in a goalie optional game, apparently. Mario Lemieux scored 5 goals, including 4 in the first period, on his way to 8 points, tying an NHL playoff record. All right. We've had a big show today, but it's still not done. We're going to continue our Eagles draft focus, spotlighting the best draft picks for each round. Today, we're going to look at the 6th round. And the Eagles, believe it or not, had more success probably from a player standpoint in the 7th round than they have the 6th. Doesn't mean they didn't have some good players come out of the 6th round, though. Cecil Martin, 6th round pick in 1999. He was one of the key components of the early Andy Reid offenses with Donovan McNabb. One of my all-time favorite running backs who I wanted to be so good, had a few 100-yard games in his career. Heath Sherman was a 6th round pick in 1989. He was solid, not spectacular. I probably overrate him because he was on those teams when I was a kid. However, the 6th round did produce 3 of the all-time greats in Eagles history. And I'll start in order of what they were drafted. First, in 1977, out of Abilene Christian, the Eagles took Wilbert Montgomery, who would be a 2-time Pro Bowler, an NFC champion, played in Super Bowl 15. Obviously, everybody knows the long run to open the scoring against the Cowboys in that championship game kind of set the tone. He's in the Eagles Hall of Fame. He's their number 2 all-time leading rusher, number 3 in rushing yards. Have his jersey. It's the good luck playoff jersey. I don't bring that thing out until the playoffs. It is currently, I should have wore it for the Super Bowl 57, but it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6-0. So the Wilbur Montgomery jersey is the playoff good luck charm. 6-0 in playoff games. Need to kind of keep it in bubble wrap until the playoffs next year. Then we go to 1991. And in 1991, in the 6th round, out of Kent State, the Eagles select Andy Harmon. Now, Andy Harmon was a second-team All-Pro. You might not remember because he came in 91, played through 97. Injuries cut short his career late. But when he was at the top of his game, Andy Harmon was a stud. He is second all-time on the Eagles in sacks for defensive linemen behind Fletcher Cox with 39.5. He played all 16 games on that 1991 team, and you guys all know how I feel about that 91 team. But he was an absolute stud until injuries late in his career sort of cut it short. But Andy Harmon, 6th round pick in 1991. And then everybody's favorite, we'll go to 2011. You probably already know who this one is, but 6th round draft pick out of Cincinnati in 2011. The Eagles take Jason Kelce. And what can we say about Kelce? 6-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, played in 193 games for the Eagles, second all-time. At one point, played in 156 straight games, which is just incredible. He's a Super Bowl 52 champion. Everybody remembers his speech where he just laid it all on the line and didn't pull any punches. He's an all-time fan favorite, still lives in the area. Kind of one of those guys you just imagine being in your group of friends. Like, I think we all have a Jason Kelce in our group of friends, and if you can't think of who the Jason Kelce is in your group of friends, likely you're the Jason Kelce in the group of your friends. But Jason Kelce was a 6th round pick in 2011, Andy Harmon in 1991, and Wilbur Montgomery in 1977. 3 of the all-time greats in Eagles history, all chosen in the 6th round of the NFL draft. Will anybody join them this year? We'll find out tomorrow. On this day in 1989, Flyers lose to the Penguins 10-7 in the playoffs, where Mario Lemieux scored 5 goals, added 3 assists, tying NHL records for points and goals in a game. Just a ridiculous game, but the Flyers would get the last laugh as they would win that series and move on to the conference finals. Very, very special. Happy 47th birthday to the Phillie Phanatic. Enjoy your day off, buddy. You certainly earned it. please, if there's anybody out there who can tell me a better mascot than the Phillie Phanatic, let me know so I can tell you how wrong you are. All right, Phillies Cubs, we'll have a recap of that tomorrow. We'll run more Tankathon simulations. Let me know your thoughts on the Fridays with AI. Everybody wanted Justin Jefferson, but with knowing how it played out for the Eagles and the bleak alternate reality that AI created, do you still wish they had taken Justin Jefferson? Let me know your thoughts on that, as well as what's your grade on Jihaad Campbell. I love it. I think it's a great pick. It's a win-win, or no low risk, high reward, whatever you want to call it. I like it. Let me know your thoughts. All right, we had some fun today. Went on that alternate reality with Fridays with AI. Talked a little Phanatic, talked some Flyers, Eagles draft. Let's hope the Phillies can bounce back today. Please. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for April 25th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a feel-good Friday. It's going to be 80 degrees. Go enjoy it. And until next time, in Howie we trust.